Well, when I was very young, I sang in my school choir. And when I was about 10, possibly 11, we went to Covent Garden and sang. And then one day Benjamin Britten came to our school to audition my school choir and decided to use us to make recordings. And so we went into the Decca Studios as a bunch of 10 and 11, 12-year-olds and recorded the Friday afternoon songs with Britten conducting his own music. And then a few months later, we went to the big studios with the London Symphony Orchestra to be the choir for the Midsummer Night's Dream recording. And I even got to play the Indian bells in the fairy band. So I'm actually audible on that recording. So spending time with a musician like that who was just so authoritative and so sensitive and so powerful as a voice, and he was a wonderful conductor, actually. That was really compelling, obviously, and it gives you this feeling that, wow, I would love to try to make this a career. I used to go and watch Itzhak Perlman play whenever I could, and Pinchas Zuckerman as well. And David Oistrakh was a huge inspiration to me. And I remember I had a ticket to hear him play the Brahms Violin Concerto, and 3 days before he was due to play it, he passed away in Amsterdam, so I never heard him live. But I also was surrounded by pianists. My sister was a wonderful pianist, and my father played the piano quite well, and I loved piano music. I really grew up with a lot of listening to a lot of pianists, and especially Beethoven and Schubert sonatas and Ravel concerto and pieces like that. I was always fascinated by the piano because I couldn't make it sound very good, because that was my first instrument, and I wanted an instrument that I could sing on immediately, and I couldn't get to that level, not quickly enough anyway. And I'm fascinated by people who can make the piano into a vocal instrument. I think it's just the most incredible thing. So those are some of the things that really came to me, and then having my own opportunities to play, the Beethoven Concerto and the Four Seasons with orchestra when I was quite young, and all those things really stay with you. Mm-hmm. So, and then I met Pinchas Zuckerman when I was 19, played in a masterclass for him, and he was very funny because he said, "Well, you should come to New York." And I said, "Nah, it's not what my father wants me to do." He says, "Well, what does your father want you to do?" "Oh, my father wants me to go to Salzburg and study with Chandor Weig, great musician, and he wants me to speak fluent German and, all that kind of stuff." And he said, "Come on, really? You should come to New York." And I said, "Well, my father's not the easiest person to persuade." And he said, "Oh yeah? Where is he?" And he was standing over there. And so it took Pinchas Zuckerman about 2 minutes to persuade my father to send me to America. And then about 4 days before I was leaving to come to... In those days, you came to America and to audition at Juilliard. And if you got in, you stayed. And if you didn't, you went home again. And I don't know what you were supposed to do when you went home. But so 4 days before, I called somebody who was... had been a violinist, but he was a businessman, and he was a very good critic of your playing, and he would make you nervous. His name's Ian Stoutsker, and he owned the Vieux del Gesù, actually, that was it. He'd been a violinist at the Royal College of Music, and that was one of the reasons I knew him. So I called him up one evening. I said, I'm really anxious. I've got to go to Juilliard, next week, and I'm auditioning, and I'm nervous, and is there any possibility I could come and play for you the next few days? And it was about 6 or 6:30 in the evening. He said, "Oh, I'm leaving on a business trip tomorrow. I'm very sorry." He said, "But is there any chance you could come over tonight?" And he lived in Hampstead, in the north of London. I lived in the south of London. I said, "Well, I suppose so." He said, I think you should come over tonight. I think it's worth your while." So I drive over there with my violin, open the front door. Itzhak Perlman is sitting in his living room, and I had the most amazing lesson with Itzhak Perlman 3 days before I came to the Juilliard School to audition. And he gave me his phone number and said, "Call me if you have any problems." And he's been a friend. He became my teacher at a certain point. But I'm very lucky. So those, some of the inspirations.
Yeah.